Hey everybody, what's up? It's me, Chris Herman, here for another episode of On Deck. Today my guest is Patrick Corvo. Patrick is a fellow guitar, not only player, but just like a super passionate guitar player, musician, car guy. He works at what I would say is definitely, if not the coolest guitar shop on the planet. That's Walt Grace Vintage down in the Wynwood district of Miami. We met a couple months ago when I bought a guitar, and we've stayed in touch, and he was able to come back up today, and we had a really cool conversation about music and guitars and cars. Probably could have gone on for a much longer time, but we were cut a little short because I have a business call to make. I'm looking at him right now. Anyway, without further ado, I know you guys are going to really enjoy this conversation. Here we go. It's Patrick Corvo. All right, Patrick.
Awesome.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude? How you are?
I am.
How you are?
How I be good. Patrick Corvo, you are on deck, man. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
You got
Glad
it.
to be here.
I'm glad you were able to come up. So to give our massive audience a little bit of background, Patrick, you work at Walt Grace Vintage.
Correct. I'm one of the car and guitar guys. So
Yes. For people who don't know, Walt Grace Vintage is a really badass store in the Wynwood Arts District in Miami. And not only is it an amazing guitar shop with tons of, contemporary and vintage guitar gear and bass, but there's also, on any given day, a collection of 3, 4, 5 really killer vintage kind of sporty luxury cars. Would that be it?
Yeah. Pushing 12, though. Pushing 12.
Is it 12?
12, man. We fit 12 to 13 cars inside there.
What?
It's crazy, I know.
That blows my mind because I've been in there a number of times and I never noticed that you guys got some serious inventory going on.
Yeah, man. It's fun.
So, Walt Grace has been in business, what, 6, 7, 8 years?
6 years.
6?
6 years now, yeah. I think we started in 2016, really. And then we've been pushing... So 6, 7 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we met. I went in like 2 months ago on a Sunday. I was watching the kids, and I was like, you know what? We're going down to Walt Grace. Went in. Oh, I know. I went down because I saw on your website that you had a Gibson Les Paul R6, I guess is
That's
what
right.
you call it, with 56 gold top reissue.
The P90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Killer.
That's why I went there, and you helped me.
Correct. Yeah.
And then I bought the guitar.
Yes.
And you brought it up here, which was super cool. And then we jammed.
Forever. It was great.
Yeah.
I was not expecting. I was not expecting that. I thought I was just going to drop it off. You're going to be like, cool, man. And I go, yeah, thanks.
Yeah. No, and you walk in, you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah. It was great.
So that's how we met. And so I'm really psyched that you were able to come up and spend some more time because you're a cool dude.
Thank you, man.
And if we were smart, we would have started recording when we were talking earlier because I think you and I can probably talk guitars, guitar gear, cars.
For hours
and hours and on end. But why don't I'll volley you just sort of an introductory question. When did you start playing guitar? Like, what got you into this world?
It's actually funny because I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan and 80s, 70s rock and roll fan. But what really got me in was I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was actually born in Charlotte, and my parents are actually Cuban origin, and they are very big on Americana style. So they got me into country music at a very young age, and I used to dress up as Garth Brooks and wanted to be Garth Brooks so badly.
No way.
Yeah, man. Garth Brooks to this day is the reason why I actually play music. And then, eventually I found my way to Slash and was like, oh, I get it. That's what I gotta do.
Like that a little bit better.
Yeah. But dude, I still put on some country music and ride away until sunset.
Now, did you start off so you start listening to country music, you get into Garth Brooks, like when did you grab a guitar? And I mean, were you like, was it acoustic guitar and you're just kind of playing along to that stuff or what?
Kind of, yeah. So my dad always had instruments in the house. He's a musician himself. He's actually a drummer. And he always had instruments. There was always a guitar, a drum set, a bass, sometimes microphones. That's when I realized I couldn't sing. And then I started playing guitar. I was able to find a way to make chords work. And then, I would see my dad play or my uncle. And then I was like, oh, cool. Let me figure this out. And then just started doing it.
How old were you?
I want to say 4 or 5 years old, maybe less.
No way.
Oh, dude, there's pictures of me jumping off tables when I was 2 years old with a guitar and a cowboy hat. Nothing else. Full disclosure.
No shit.
Yeah, man. It's I've known for as long as I have a memory that I wanted to be a rock star, and that was the path. Nothing else.
You know, it's so interesting. I don't know if I started with it that early. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was really into music, so we always listened to a lot of music around the house, and so I got exposed to a lot of like classic rock and 70s stuff and what have you. And I don't know at what point it was. I was probably 8 or 9 or 10 when I fell in love with Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
And it was mid 70s. So it was like 77, 78, probably around there, right? So I was 6 or 7 years old at the time. And I used to like really get into it so much so that like, I'd get my friends together and we'd put on like concerts in the backyard.
That's amazing.
Or on our bed with tennis rackets, like we put a record on and
that was everybody's first guitar.
That was it. It was like a tennis racket.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't want to be a bass player, I definitely wanted to be either Gene Simmons or Ace Frehley. Like
Ace Frehley is such a badass. I mean,
that was my like 3rd grade Halloween costume.
I didn't
Ace Frehley.
actually get the Kiss thing until I started working at Walt Grace. Bill, the founder,
sure,
he is a huge Kiss guy, and he was like, "Dude, have you like actually dug into Ace Frehley?" And I was like, "No." And then we did one day, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is great."
So it's interesting that you say that though. So I'm curious because I listened to Kiss a lot when I was a kid. In fact, it was my first concert ever. I saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden, and that changed my life.
Yeah,
I was in 3rd grade, and it was just like that was it. That's what really launched me on the like rock and roll wanting to be a musician thing. But now when I go back and listen to Kiss, I'm like, that's not so good. That's how I feel about it. But I'm curious to get a different perspective because I know he's like a Kiss nut.
Yeah, he's a big Kiss guy, and I felt that way. Before I actually started to sit down and listen to it, I was like, yeah, it's Kiss, rock and roll all night, cool, but then I started listening to like Strutter and like all these other songs, and I was like, oh wow, that is, the writing behind it is genius. The melodies, the way they do things, and their attitude, the whole Kiss attitude, which is, turn it up until the only place left to play is Madison Square Garden. So it's amazing.
They were so incredible. Like I remember, like Gene Simmons did "God of Thunder," and they was like lifted up into the ceiling, and of course, like he did the blood. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
And our friends, my parents were out of town, so my friend's dad took me. Right.
Oh, wow.
He worked with my dad in the car business, and he's from Colombia, and he's a very like, nicely dressed, like nice Colombian man. Like I remember in his car. He always had 8 tracks of like flamenco guitar players. Like that's all he listened to.
Wow.
And I remember thinking like that looks interesting, but that was it. So he takes me to see Kiss. He has no idea what's coming, right?
Oh,
and I just remember on the way home, we're coming through like the Lincoln Tunnel back into New Jersey. He's like, I can't believe how loud it was.
Oh, that's amazing.
So great. He was such a good sport to take me to that.
That was so cool. Yeah, he had no idea what he signed up for.
None. No. Like he was like, like nice, like, nice slacks, button down shirt, like Gucci loafers, like card guy,
Yeah. So great. No. And then everybody was with leather and jackets. And
I don't even remember. I just remember where we sat. We were like on the side, diagonally up a little bit, like good seats. For Kiss, my first concert ever. Yep.
That's amazing.
You guys have had Ace in the store, haven't you?
Yes, he's actually very good friends with Bill.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, most of the guys are, yeah.
It's so interesting because Bill started off in advertising. Like I know that because I met him a long time ago.
Correct. He was in the digital advertising world, I believe, in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the company used to be called Raw Interactive.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he was in New York, right?
Yeah, New York, correct. He's actually from Philly, born and raised in Philly, and then moved to New York.
Right.
Yeah. It's cool.
And you've been working there for...
I've been working there for 4 years, going on 5.
What's it like? I mean, it's like, as from a customer perspective, it's a great place. Like, it's just magical.
It's the same thing on the inside. I mean, funny enough, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, what do you want to do? Because he keeps, working these weird jobs. And I go, dude, what do you want to do? I know this is a really weird case, but I found my perfect place. I'm a car mechanic and a guitar player. So when I found Walt Grace, I was like, oh my God, this is, there's other people like me in this world? Huh? And dude, I go to work doing things I love every day. I look at cars, I talk about cars, I talk about guitars, meet people like you, that's all I do every day. I mean, all we do is that.
How many, on an annual basis, how many cars are you guys selling there?
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. We do at least 3 to 5 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Jonathan, our car guy, he's actually amazing at that.
So does he, I'm curious because, we've talked about this. You've got a whole retail automotive background. Obviously,
Correct.
That's what we do here at the shop, and I grew up around it as well, too. I mean, so you got this guy, Jonathan, is he sourcing these vehicles, bringing in? How are you guys, where does the inventory come from, right?
Okay.
And then who's
Yeah.
your customer? Because it's an interesting deal, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Jonathan Lewis is actually our car curator, and he is incredible. He has this ability of plucking cars that have never been for sale anywhere else, because we specialize in quiet cars. They're not auction cars. They haven't really been available for sale anywhere else. They haven't been shopped around, nothing like that. Because the worst thing that can happen is you buy a car and somebody goes, oh, I know that car. And you're like, oh, come on, bro.
Right.
So Jonathan was actually born into the car business. His dad is also a major car industry guy, and he's been in the Miami area forever. They call him the short British guy. It's actually really funny. And because Jonathan's 7 feet tall.
Right.
And so he finds them from collectors, and things like that.
So he's really sourcing these vehicles from independent private owners.
Correct. Yeah.
Who are just they're ready to lighten up a little bit on their collection or something like that.
Exactly.
So he's not going to the auction and getting this stuff.
No,
and people aren't trading this stuff in.
We don't do any auctions. Sometimes we do trade-ins.
Right.
Depends on what it is and things like that. But yeah.
Now, what about from the perspective of, it's funny because our typical audience is a lot of car people, so they may not have realized that we were going to be talking about cars as we got into this. But you take a car in, do you guys have a relationship with some kind of reconditioning shop? How do you guys get the cars up and ready for sale?
Okay, so all of our cars are acquired in the condition they are. We don't do any restorations or reconditioning or anything like that. Yeah. If you're not in the business of restoring, it is not a good idea.
Right. So you guys are handpicking stuff that is in great condition, runs, obviously, and then it's in the shop.
And it's the same way for the guitars. All the guitars in the shop, they're all selected, and we all love the guitars. Otherwise, we can't sell them. So there's no way.
Right.
We have to love what we have. And, Bill always says it, that if the shop were to close, he would not mind keeping every single one of those guitars, because they're all amazing. And same goes for the cars, all the cars we have.
But you guys are a new dealer for you're a dealer
Correct.
for Gibson, Fender, right?
Yeah, Gibson, Fender, Marshall, Martin, Gretsch, EVH, which is part of Fender now, and
right.
Two Rock, insane, and Tone King also.
And Tone King.
Tone Kings are absolutely insane. I didn't know until I played one, and I was like, oh my god. Everybody was always like, dude, have you tried a Tone King? And I was like, no, I kind of play Marshalls.
Right.
And then we got a couple in, and I was like, wow, they're magical.
Who if you look at the customer in your shop,
mm-hmm.
Who's the customer? Is it more of a high end vintagey customer, or is it do you get some entry level players coming in? I'm curious, right. who's buying guitars at Walt Grace?
So it's really funny. We actually have all of the above. We have the vintage guys, mm-hmm. we have the super collector guys, we have the beginners that come in, and the first time they held a guitar was here. In fact, a lot of the guitar sales that happened during the pandemic were to a lot of people that it was a bucket list thing where they want to learn how to play guitar, and this is the time. So we sold a lot of people their first guitars, and now they're by their second, third, fourth guitar. And it's incredible because they learned over, a couple of months, I guess a year, that we were locked down.
Right.
And it's crazy. So there's all of the above. That's the answer for that.
And you also have some pretty high profile people coming in as well too, right?
Correct.
Like buyers, and like I know I saw a video where Kevin O'Leary came in, and he's a customer. I know you have a lot of musicians come in. Like, tell me what's that like? Like,
it's funny because I think the saying goes, you treat regular people like rock stars and rock stars like regular people. So it's great. I mean, when I got to meet he is one of my favorite singers. He came by to do like a little video shoot with a gentleman called Jeff that used to work there, and he did like this guitar and vocal video. They were in a band together, and it was really cool to meet them as regular people, because you're not meeting them at a show or backstage or anything like that. You're meeting them, face to face like this. You guys are talking about things you have in common.
Right.
They're there for guitars or cars, and that's everything that is me. So it's good.
I mean, are there moments in the shop where it's like, oh, someone's coming in or whatever, like, oh, that's so, like, it's got to create some kind of cool buzz. Like,
definitely.
Right?
Recently we had one of the singers of America, and I went through a huge America phase when I was in high school.
Right.
Again, back to the Americana thing, and
yeah, you went through the desert on a horse with no name.
Exactly, with Sister Golden Hair and everything, and it was really cool because I came in. It was a Tuesday. Tuesdays I'm usually off, and I came in. I think one of the guys had to leave early, so I was like, yeah, I'll cover you. And I walked in, and I see this guy, and Bill goes, dude, and I go, no way. And he goes, yeah, and I go, oh my God. And then Bill actually goes up to him and he goes, hey, do you mind if Patrick takes a picture? And I go, Bill, that's so unprofessional. He goes, dude, come on, you're good. And I go, awesome. And then so I got to take a picture with him, which was great.
Right.
Yeah, and then it was awesome. It was also happened with the singer from Yes. I had no idea I was talking to him until I was. And then he goes, yeah, I used to be in this band. And then I was like, yeah, cool, man. And then we started talking about music, about rock and roll. The whole full stack thing, the power, and then he goes, yeah, exactly. And then we started talking, and then he tells me his name, and then, I started putting two and two together, and then I was like, oh, hi.
It's so funny, right?
Yeah, man, it's great though.
It's like the story of, do you follow Rick Beato on YouTube? Do you know who he is?
I don't.
Oh, dude. Rick Beato is a musical treasure. Okay, so Rick Beato's, I think he's probably like late 50s, early 60s right now.
Cool.
He's a super, trained jazz guitar player, but like the guy can play any instrument and he can talk about music theory inside, outside, upside down.
Wow.
He's got a massive YouTube channel that he does from his studio at his house in Atlanta. He's the coolest dude. And he loves and plays all kinds of music. So I got into him because he had this series that he still does called What Makes This Song Great, right? And he basically, like, he sits in front of the camera, he's got a keyboard or guitar, and he's got a computer, and he's like playing like the real tracks of any song. And it literally could be, he'll go from like Blink-182 to Sting to Tool to like he covers the full gamut. Yes, it doesn't matter, right? And he can play it all, and he can break it down and tell you the musical structures and the modes and what's at play. But he brings like the same excitement and joy to like the most complex like Sting or Police song, right? That he does to like Blink-182. The reason that I'm saying all this stuff is a long intro. You got to check the guy out. I'm telling you, and he's an incredible guitar player.
Wow.
His Instagram series, like he does these 1 minute things.
Right.
He's like, here's a great thing that I like to do. Anyway, he tells a story when he was in Atlanta and he was like in Guitar Center, right? And he was walking around and there's like a kid, in there just playing guitar, playing some cool riffs, and he's hanging out, he's watching him. He's like, oh man, that's really cool. He's like, yeah. Hey, he goes, are you in a band? He's like, yeah, I am. He goes, really? Yeah, have I heard of him? He's like, I don't know. We're Rage Against the Machine. And it was Zach. It was singer, and he's just in there, just like riffing out on guitars and riffing.
That is
like,
so funny. Oh my God.
Same deal. Like,
yeah.
I didn't even recognize him.
I didn't recognize him because I was like, I'm used to watching, like the old videos and how they look, in the 80s and 70s, and then when I see them now, I'm not saying that they look old. saying.
Well, I mean, you know, that's a classic 70s band. We had a woman who worked here for years, super awesome lady named Lori, and she was the biggest Yes fan ever. Loves Yes and loved Chris Squire, the bass player.
Yeah.
So I think the singer's name was it's not
Anderson?
Ian Anderson? No,
I don't know if it's Ian, but it's definitely Anderson. Something Anderson.
Yeah.
And then
na 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 capture.
Dude, yes is great, man. I actually got into them via Rush. That was I don't know if you're a Rush fan.
Little bit, like it's never fully taken hold for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was interesting. I had a friend of mine. He was a drummer and a singer. He was actually the lead singer for the last iteration of my band.
Right.
And we were about, I want to say 11, 12 years old. He was a year older than I was. And we were in his room. We were practicing for this talent show that our middle school was going to have. And his brother walks in and he goes, "You guys don't know anything at all." And we go, "What are you talking about, dude?" And he goes, "The day you guys can cover this, you let me know." And then he goes on the computer and he puts Tom Sawyer. And then our little tween minds just exploded. Like they just literally just blew up. And I was like, oh no. It was insane. And that rabbit hole into all the progressive stuff, you know, Yes, Genesis, then the more modern stuff like Tool, you know.
Did you go through a big progressive stage?
Oh yeah. It was it's called High School. It was it was a lot of Rush every single day, and then Yes and Tool. When I found out about Tool, I was like, oh my god. It was like the same feeling all over again. You know, listening to those guys play, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then it was great. Recently, maybe not recently. My years kind of blend in, but a few years ago, I think they released all of the Tool stuff on Apple Music and Spotify and things like that, which was great because they were only an album to album. Band.
Yeah, I mean, I always just had all the discs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you couldn't get them any other way. Like, they were never on streaming services, never. And then they finally reached streaming services, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Right.
But, you know, it was good to be able to be like, oh my god.
I love Adam Jones as a guitar player. Like that guy.
So good.
I mean, you can't talk about him without talking about his tone, because his tone is, in my opinion, one of the, if not the best heavy drop D tones, period.
I love drop D.
It's super heavy. It's super crisp. It's super articulate. The EQ balance is freaking perfect.
And he blends in so well with everything. I mean, if that band just sonically was, or is, absolutely insane.
They fit.
Dude, and the bass player. Can't talk about Tool without the bass player. I mean, everybody. The drummer, the singer.
I know.
Dude.
Maynard isn't sounding quite as good, though. Like, when you hear, like if you watch or listen to, like, their newer, more recent performances, right?
Right.
You know, I mean, listen, it's understandable. You get older, your pitch changes, your tonality changes as a singer. You know, you still have, you know, you got Adam Jones, you got Justin Chancellor, and you got Danny Carey, and the three of them, it's just like it's insane how good and the time signatures and the crispness of their playing.
Oh, dude, when I heard, I think "The Pot" was the first song that I heard from Tool. And it was actually with my friend, the drummer I was telling you about, the first guy I ever listened to Rush with.
Right.
And we heard that. He goes, "Dude, you got to listen to this band." I just found it. And I go, "Bro, hit me." And we were in the car and we put it on. I was like, "Bro, what is going on? what time signature are we in? What? Dude." And then that, like, again, sparked another rabbit hole of progressive bands and the heavier type of music that I went into afterwards, and it was...
Yeah. See, I'm a couple years older than you. And I first heard Tool, I was in college, so it was like early 90s when they first came out, like when their first album, Opiate came out.
Yeah, that's right.
A friend of mine, a friend, you know, it was the same time I got into Rage Against the Machine, like when it was just coming out. I remember hearing Tool, and I was just like, oh my god, like it was just so, even at the very basic level, like it was Opiate, then Undertow, then whatever was next, I can't remember, but just that band progressed amazingly.
They're so good.
Yep.
Wow.
I agree.
Yeah.
So your band, American Animal.
American Animal, yeah.
Right? You're going full-fledged, full stack rock and roll.
That's right.
In Miami.
Exactly. in Miami, Florida, guys.
Right?
Dude, it is a weird path because a lot of times when they ask you, what type of band you are, I always lead with, well, we use full stacks. And then people that know go, how does that work? And I go, well, grab a cabinet, stack it on top of another cabinet, and you play real fucking loud.
Right.
And a lot of people, dude, it is, South Florida is Latin country. It is.
It totally is. And so, like, it's a weird deal, because, Dade County, super Latin, right?
Tell me about it.
Really no.
We got 8th Street, baby.
I don't know that there's like any type of rock scene in Miami.
Yeah.
I think there's a little experimental here and there.
Exactly.
Right? But it's going to be more, you're sort of like indie combo amp.
Exactly.
Thing, right?
It's a twin reverb and a Jazzmaster.
And a couple, a couple pedals.
Exactly.
Right? Like, okay. Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I love it.
That's fucking
guys,
cool. Then you come up here to Broward, right? And you got
Hollywood Circle.
You got bar band after bar band, right? Which is kind of what we're rehearsing, to be honest. I guess because we play.
I love a good bar band. It is.
It's all '90s alternative and some classic rock. Is pretty much what we play. But like, there's no like thriving
rock and roll
scene like there has been typically in other places. There never has been.
Yeah.
And you don't even get a lot of big bands that come down here.
You don't. Everybody kind of comes to Orlando and they go, that's as far as we go, guys. I will see you later.
But it's funny. I always wondered about that. And then somebody finally told me years ago, a friend of mine who toured with a lot of like hardcore bands and like post-hardcore bands and stuff like that.
I love post-hardcore, by the way.
And he was, what was his band? His band that he was in that was pretty popular was called Texas Is the Reason. I don't know if you
I do.
Okay. So
I'm a Warped Tour child. I went to Warped Tour every single year.
Okay.
And it was great. It was awesome.
I loved Warped Tour.
Yeah.
I used to go too.
Dude, I went every single year. I had a friend who used to get me unescorted backstage passes or all access passes or whatever they were called. Every year they were called something different. And they give you a little wristband. You walk around and you feel important because you're on the other side.
Right. Oh, the Warped Tour was great.
Oh, dude, it was great. There was this one band that I always died to see and I never got to see them. They were called Pierce the Veil. They're a little bit...
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're...
Okay.
They started in like 2010 more or less, maybe 2009. They were already, newer in that sense, and they were like towards the end of Warped Tour, if you will.
Okay.
And they're so good, and it was great because they used to go on stage with like Mesa full stacks, and I was like, awesome. That is, yes.
So there was like the Mesa amps were like for when I was, okay, so I graduated high school in '89. I was in college in like the early to mid '90s, right? Which is when the first wave of the Mesa dual rectifiers just made their full-on infiltration into music. Like
just kicked everybody out.
Everybody else, like they were either playing Marshall JCM 800s or 900s, right? Nobody was playing plexis like at those days. Like they were playing 800s and 900s because it was heavier gain. And then the dual rectifiers came in and kicked like everything out of the way.
Oh my God.
And then PRS came in and it was just like for a period of time. And it's sort of funny now because it is a little bit, it's almost like a cliche, the PRS dual rectifier sound. But I was that fucking guy. I was fucking that guy 100%. I loved it every time I plugged in and played.
It's just, they sound magical. And I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I am a huge Nickelback fan. And I just want to admit it, the guys, they have great riffs.
They do.
Their guitar tone, it is insane. And you can hear it. You can almost smell it. It's literally a PRS and a 90s dual. And that's it. And it is cranked and they play loud. And dude, I went to one of their concerts and it was... You could feel the distortion. It was...
why does everybody shit on that band so much?
Dude, I have no idea.
Because they were unapologetically rock and roll. Like, they were a rock band with some rock sensibilities, meaning, like, we like chicks.
They party,
we're
rock
cool
and
with
roll,
partying.
Yeah.
They were that during the 90s when that was not cool,
exactly.
Right? Like, you weren't supposed to be that way, right?
Literally.
And Nirvana came in and kicked out Motley Crue, and now no more of that.
Yeah.
And they were kind of that.
They were, dude. They came in and they took a modern take on all that stuff, and it was awesome. I mean, all the riffs are great. I mean, their early Nickelback stuff was insane. I mean, the Silver Side Up stuff, and then going into For All the Right Reasons when all the double bass pedal came in the early 2000s. I think For All the Right Reasons was maybe 2006. And dude, the tone, everything, even the drum tone. That album, when you listen to the first track, which is Follow You Home, comes in with a double bass pedal intro, and it's just the drummer going absolutely crazy with a double bass pedal, and then the guitars, and then they're just this. It's what's called, I think, not radio friendly guitars, and I love that, which is a PRS and a Mesa cranked.
Yeah,
as they would say, 211.
That's right.
It's everything.
Yeah, I think some bands every now and then one comes along, they just take a rash of shit and they're one. But again, I saw something recently, a guy talking about how he worked as like a studio intern, and he told a story about a band, and at the end he said it was Nickelback. But the whole story was, I went in and I worked with these guys for like 2 weeks, and they were the fucking coolest, nicest, fucking best dudes he'd ever worked with, compared to all the other assholes that he had dealt with. So.
I have heard that. That Chad, the singer, is super nice, and his brother Mike and everybody there are supposed to be real nice guys.
Nice Canadians.
Nice Canadians, eh?
Nice Canadians, eh? I lost my train of thought. Oh, I just wanted to say one thing real quick. Okay, so my friend said that the reason why many people don't hit Miami is just the sheer cost.
Yeah, of course.
The sheer expense of like driving all the way down for one gig and all the way back. You basically burn whatever you could make. Yeah. If you're a smaller band,
of course,
you burn anything you could make, and there's not quite the audience.
Yeah, you can't, because you drive 8 hours in, and then you have to drive 8 hours out with no stops, because you can't stop anywhere to play, because you already played them on the way down.
Right.
Even if you play them on the way up, you're still burning one way 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever it takes to get out of Florida. It's not.
Now, with your band, right? Like let's talk about your band for a second, okay? All right, so. The unusual thing is you're just playing fucking balls out rock and roll.
Correct.
Full stacks. There's no clubs that fucking can handle that kind of shit. You're supposed to show up with like a nice little combo amp and keep it like cool, and they'll turn you up as they see fit, and you're coming in, you're ready to blow the fucking roof off the place.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Exactly.
As it fucking should be. That being said, are you guys like ever in the position or of the mindset where like you get this going? Do you do the hop in a van or a fucking truck and drive around and just go fucking play everywhere?
There's nothing I would love more. I mean, that is the dream. The dream is to be a rock and roll band, shove everything in a $300 van, and we'll figure it out. It's cool. That's all part of it. And it's there's obviously better ways of doing it now, but there's a sense of reality to doing it that way,
But is anybody still doing that? Like, are there bands out there, and I realize it's COVID or we're out,
right.
I guess COVID's over now. Who knows what the fuck?
Yeah.
But are there bands out there doing it that way? Like getting in the van and just going across the country and fucking playing shitholes and earning their audience?
I think there has to be. I mean, there's a lot of new rock and roll bands that are starting to surface out from LA, Nashville. Nashville, you have Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown, who are absolutely phenomenal guys. Then you have Dirty Honey, Joyous Wolf, and things like that out of LA, which are absolutely destroying the game. I mean, they're coming in with these, early Aerosmith vibe riffs. They're like 70s, rock and roll, and it's like great. Finally we're getting to like what I want to do, which is, the Boston, the Guns N' Roses, that era of rock and roll. And it's working for them somehow. They figured it out. I mean, they're obviously not with massive labels, but that's the plan.
I'm gonna have to write some of these bands down, dude. Yeah. I'm so out. I am so far away from what is happening, and I swear, when you're your age, you swear, I'm never not going to be on top of new music.
No,
and then before you know it, you're like, well, who?
Oh, dude, it's cool. I think on the way over here, I was listening to on Apple Music to Paul McCartney, The Essentials.
Okay.
I don't always listen to rock and roll. Like no,
me neither.
That's how you burn out. I was listening to Paul McCartney, then it went into I think James Taylor, and then it just like it started to. I love that like folk guitar,
singer, songwriter, guitar stuff,
exactly.
folk stuff. It's
awesome.
It's all good.
Exactly.
It's all good. I met a guy the other night, and he's like, we were up in Fort Lauderdale, and he's like, are you coming up for a Tortuga or whatever? Like,
oh yeah.
And I'm like, no, bro, I'm not. All right? It's because like the big country music festival thing, that's not really my gig. But that's not to say I don't like country music. I totally do. I just don't know I want to spend a whole day at a country music concert.
I think the one I really want to do is Chili Cook-Off, just because I don't know what exactly happens in Chili Cook-Off. If it's like what the name says, I'm 100% down because I love chili. It is a problem.
Right?
So I don't know. I've never been, but I think it's chili. I hope so.
Where's the Chili Cook? Where's that?
Sometimes they do it in Pembroke Pines or towards, west.
What, obviously, listen, I think it's safe to say you probably love all kinds of music.
I do. I'm actually in another band called Ledoux and the Broken. We're an R&B hip hop band with guitars.
Ledoux and the Broken.
Ledoux and the Broken, yeah.
It's a good name. I like it.
It's cool. It's Ledoux is the singer. He's incredibly talented singer. He's actually from the Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
And we met over Instagram. A friend of mine introduced us, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to come to the studio and lay down some guitar tracks?" And I sent him a picture of the full stack, and I go, "Are you sure?" Because he sent me these songs, and I heard him over the first time, and I was like, I've been playing guitar a long time, man. There's no guitars here or space for guitars. What do you want me to do? And then he goes, "I don't know, dude. Just come through and do your shit." And I go, "All right." So I rolled in with a Mesa 212 and a smaller dual rectifier and a PRS, as one should.
Pared it down.
And I remember I rolled into the studio, and the intern that was there, funny, talking about interns, he goes, "So what are we doing?" I go, "Cool. So when you're mic the cabinet, just bring me in an SM57. We'll be fine. I love 57, so I use them on everything."
Well, what's wrong with it?
Exactly.
I don't see the need for all these other microphones.
He actually brought me one of these. This is a 7B. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, this kind of works, but I would really like 57. And then he brought me a 57, and then, okay, cool. So just mic the cabinet. Look for the cone off axis, right?
Yeah.
He grabs the mic, puts it on a vocal stand, and just aims it down at the amp. And I was like, okay, dude, I'm gonna need either a boom stand or a little kick mic stand. And he goes, cool, I'll be right back.
Who did this? Some intern kid?
The intern.
He put it like up here and just pointed it?
Just pointed it down at the cabinet, and I go, that's a good idea, but no.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
So then we mic'd it up, and then I sat there and just, I want to say I soloed and bullshitted the whole way through. And now I'm partners with the guy. We write a lot of the things together, and it's really, we really built something beautiful, which is, this like R&B hip hop thing with all these guitars coming in, there's, and one of the tracks called Beautiful Tragedy, there's the whole song I'm using distortion and I'm playing, rock and roll chords, and it's working,
Nice.
It's working. And there's hip hop drums and everything else.
What now? I don't. I mean, I've never even heard you play guitar. Like I don't. And so, as part of our getting to know each other better, what do you consider? Are you more of a rhythm player? Are you more of a lead player? Or both? What kind of player are you?
I think I'm a both guy.
Right.
I love soloing, but I am your typical pentatonic party trick guy. I love the pentatonic scale. I don't know how much hate I'm gonna get for that, but dude, pentatonics are great. They're amazing, and you just do it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
they work 100% of the time.
Right.
That's why they're common.
Well, and it also doesn't require an incredible amount of thought.
Exactly.
Right? Like you can just go with it.
Like going back to the beginning of this, I learned how to play by myself. I didn't really have a guitar teacher, so I just heard stuff and started playing them. And that being said, I never took any music theory classes. And it was partly because I was stubborn as a teenager, and I said, I don't need music theory. I can just listen to the song. We're good. And that being said, the pentatonic thing got me a long way, and it's why I like playing guitar. Slash is all pentatonics. All the big guys are pentatonic, so why can't I play pentatonic scales?
You totally can.
Exactly.
When I started playing, acoustic, learned some basic open, fucking cowboy chords and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
And then I think my first guitar lesson, the guy was like, well, what kind of music to listen to? I said, punk rock and hardcore. He goes, well, you need to learn how to play bar chords and power chords.
That's awesome.
And he showed me that, and I didn't go to another lesson. I was like, oh, got it.
Cool. That's exactly what I wanted to learn.
I was like, okay. And for years, I never wanted to learn anything more. And then I was like, all right, I got to start learning more. You know? And even to this day, I'm still I know all the modes of the scale, and I can and I can move through them, and I know how they interact and all that stuff. But it's still I still find I'm just basically, listen, if you know all the modes of the scale and how they interconnect up and down the neck, then if you're playing an A minor, you know all the shapes for A minor up and down the neck, whether it's pentatonic or whether it's the full scale.
Exactly.
And you know that A minor jumps up and then it's going to be in C major. You know, like you just know where you're going to be.
Yeah.
But I find that like right now, like with the band that I'm playing with, unless if it's a solo that it's like written and I learn how to play along with it, when I hit those spots where it's like improv spots at high speed, I'm kind of like,
yeah.
I'm just wanking in it and I don't like it, and I'm like, I think I need to start writing these things.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I get to solo time and I like I'm not loose, you know?
Yeah.
And you start to get a little stressed.
So that was one of the things that in high school I went to an art school that actually closed down, and it's now on abandonedflorida.com. It's hilarious. And our music teacher, her name was Miss Q. She actually made us loose in that sense when we were playing together. She, was not. She knew a lot of music theory. She's a professional. She's
right,
super professional. But if you didn't want to learn music theory, she didn't pressure you. She showed you, the real way, which was why it works and how you have to do it. And we played, the jazz band of the high school was really like a everything band. We played rock, country, punk, R&B. I mean, we played Alanis Morissette for shows. Like, it was awesome. And she showed us how to, listen to each other and be able to feel free and flow in a jamming situation or in a solo situation, and make it happen. And pentatonics, baby.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it is, it is, I'm just not very fast. I'm just not, like, I just don't have a lot of speed, right? That's why I've been so fixated on David Gilmour, because I just love how expressive he is.
He chooses the note, and that note hits your soul, bro.
Yeah, exactly. like it's just so right.
It is
so I've been
the right note.
Leaning way more into that, know, because if we got something going fast and I'm trying to like pretend I'm Kirk Hammett, man, it's just
yeah.
I mean, I can do, I can throw the wall and do some hammer-ons and pull-offs. Needs some work, bro.
I learned the whole speed thing from Slash, his runs. The runs that he does. I think he uses harmonic minor or something.
Right.
I don't know. I just call it a pentatonic with a few extra notes. And and I learned all his like runs and the way he does like the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then just does like all the way through. And
triplets, yeah.
Exactly. And then I just kind of did that, and then I realized I was terrible at timing. And that's when I decided to learn how to play drums in the middle of high school. And then I was like, cool. And then I became a drummer, which we played together. And then it's all because I learned how to play drums in high school. And then instantly, my guitar playing got like a million times better.
Really?
I mean,
from playing drums?
From playing drums. It taught me that discipline of why triplets are important and why, this is what we do and things like that. And it's because I was a kid. I didn't really care about anything but playing guitar. And I was like, I just want to play guitar really loud as possible, all the time. I went to school with a guitar case, not a backpack. Didn't care.
Every day.
Oh yeah, I just shoved my notebook in the front pocket of my tailor case, and I was like, I was cool. Yeah. My teachers are like, "Why are your backpacks?" And I go, "I don't know. Here you go." And I was a good student. I mean, I was a 3.5 student, I guess, 3.8. But
that sounds fantastic,
but,
man.
I just only care about music, and the only thing I needed was my guitar.
Good stuff. So, what the band, right? The band, the working at the shop. Like, how does this all come together for you, Patrick?
How does it come together? So, you know how they say work in your field? Yes. I strongly believe that Walt Grace Vintage is my field, and it's what I love to do, and it connects directly to my band. We're a car and guitar gallery, so it is amazing to be able to, do what I love and then get out of work and do more things I love, like playing with my band. As I told you, I've always wanted to be a rock star, and there's really nothing holding me back to be a rock star. I mean, Bill encourages it every single day. He always says, go out there and fucking kick ass and do it, and it's amazing because, dude, if you work at Starbucks, they're not going to tell you to leave the company and go be a rock star.
No.
Absolutely not. They're going to be like, how about you stay? We'll give you like $1 more.
Right.
So it's crazy, man. It's great that I can do that. And the band, it's rock and roll, man.
It's so awesome because, I mean, a lot of guys, who play in bands, I mean, I worked as a bartender, a waiter, busting tables. That's what I did at that time. And, but a lot of guys work in music shops, right? But like working at Guitar Center ain't the same as working at Walt Grace.
It's definitely not. Yeah.
I mean, for those who haven't been, like, the store is beautiful. There's a really beautiful cafe with like nice coffees and pastries.
I can no longer have coffee anywhere else. It's so bad.
I know. It's just like the people are cool. The place is like a real spectacle, and you've got tons of people coming in and out every day.
It's amazing. I mean, this is like I said earlier, this is what I do. I talk to people all day. We find things in common. I mean, they come in, and it's really great when you see like kids come in, because when you go, I'm not gonna name names of guitar shops. When you go to different guitar shops and you want to play something expensive, they don't let you because oh, you're not old enough, or like, oh, come on, dude,
Right.
And that happened to me a lot when I was a kid. So every time we see a kid come in and he wants to play like a custom shop Les Paul or like something crazy, we're like, absolutely, bro. And we'll plug him into a fucking full stack and we'll crank him and be like, play, make noise. That is awesome. That's what we like, because dude, we were all that kid.
That's so cool, because I think, and we even discussed this today, like for everybody, even Slash said this recently. Everybody, when they go into the guitar shop to sit down and play, it's a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience, right?
100%.
Because it's like, okay, there's people around. What do I play? I don't want to sound like a fucking wanker, And you're sort of like performing in a weird way.
Yeah. It's your first show.
Right? And so, especially for kids, to feel comfortable in that environment, you totally need to just be like, yeah. And I'm the same way here. Like, I've got a guy who works with me, awesome guy, Jeffrey D. He had his own guitar shop for a while, and he like runs our live sound here, and he works on all the guitars, and he's always like, be careful. I'm like, dude, it's a guitar.
It's just a guitar. Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's at this level or that level, they're gonna get played. They're gonna get banged up. That's what I want. Right?
Exactly. Like, dude, I get it.
I'm not into this like buy a really nice guitar and just like, fuck that. No, play it.
Play. They're for playing, and just like the cars are for driving. Like we have all these vintage cars. People are like, oh, but you can't drive those. And I go, no, you're wrong. They're for driving. We want you to floor them. That is like, dude, cars are meant to be driven. Guitars are meant to be played. It's ridiculous how some people just hang him. I can't just hang him.
I can't, I couldn't do that. And I don't ever have any desire for like super crazy high dollar vintage guitars. Like I've got a killer collection, more than I could have ever dreamed. I love every one of them. I play them all the time. I want to make these vintage guitars, meaning like over the next 20 to 30 years, I want to play them so much that they become their own vintage guitars.
Exactly.
Right? And then I have my own.
Absolutely.
And they're mine.
Exactly.
Just like Jimmy Page, who played a 59 Les Paul, he still has that guitar. Like, he played that. That's why it's a killer vintage guitar.
Exactly.
Not because he bought it and just set it, set it in the shell. Look at Bonamassa. The guy had, how many freaking 59s does he has? He plays them all.
Oh, dude, it's great. I actually was able to catch a part of a show in Tampa, and it was live Bonamassa is completely different than what you see in the videos and things like that. Oh my God, the energy and everything when you actually experience it live, and the sound.
I'm sure the sound's great.
Oh, dude, if you're like a gear nerd, like I think most people that go watch Bonamassa are gear nerds.
You have to be.
That's what he does, and it is cool. And he's also a really nice guy. He has actually stopped by one day too.
Has he?
Yeah, a couple times, and it was cool. It was cool to see him, and I'd be like, oh shit, you're what's up, dude?
You've got the most insane guitar collection of anybody on planet Earth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really cool. It's also the first place I ever saw a real 59. It was at Walt Grace Vintage. Oh my God. It was, I have a really funny story. Me and my best friend, we went for my birthday. That's how I kind of met Bill in the shop. I was with him. We were having breakfast at some restaurant, and I go, dude, I heard of a vintage shop in Wynwood. And he goes, in Wynwood? And I go, yeah, I know. I don't know who would do that. And then, but granted, 5-6 years ago, you talked about Wynwood, and you were like, kind of sketchy, dude. Now it's like a touristy, very nice neighborhood. But so we said, cool, let's go. So we got in my car, we drove over. I had a 944 at the time. I had a red 944. It was really cool. And I rolled in, I parked, and then I was there with my best friend, and we were waiting for the shop to open. The shop opens, we come in, we start hanging out, we start playing guitar. Bill notices that we're good players, so he starts talking to us. He goes, oh, dude, what's up? We start talking about guitars, and then we start talking about 59s, and he goes, I'll show you one. We're like, what? And then he goes, yeah. So we walk to the back. That was our temporary location at the time. And we walk to the back, we go around, and we go into this jam room, right?
Yeah, it was around.
Exactly, around the corner. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he brings out this old Lifton case, and he puts it on this couch that we had there, the little couches, right? Opens all the latches, kind of looks at us. We look at him. We look at the guitar. He starts opening it up, and then all the light and the glimmer starts coming out of the case, all the the voices come out, everything. And somebody runs into the room and goes, "Bill, we need you real quick." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he puts it away, and it was if you're a guy, it was like the biggest blue ball moment ever. And we were like, "Oh my god!"
So he didn't even open it all the way up or take it out.
No. And then we're done here, and I go, "Oh my god!" And then eventually I went back, and now I've played more 59s that I know what to do with.
Is there okay? Are they all that?
I wanted to say no forever to that. Okay, before I started working there, I wanted to say, definitely not. It's just a name. But dude, there is something so magical when you play one and you hear the way the wood quacks and just the way the guitar sounds. Dude, the Brazilian rosewood does so much. I mean, most reissues and everything have Indian rosewood. There were some limited Brazilian runs and things like that, but the Brazilian rosewood does a lot for the fretboard. And dude, those old pickups. They didn't have a science to them. There was just a lady there wiring them, and then she would stop. So all of them are different,
Right.
And it was that magic that made him perfect in 59. Everything, the way they were just amazing. And I've played 58s, I played 59s, and I played 157 once and a 54. The 54 was okay. I played the 57 was insane. It was a NAMM actually. I was walking around and this guy had a 57 on the stand, and he goes, "Yeah, try these pedals, bro." And I go, "What?"
And that was the test guitar?
That was the test guitar, bro. It was insane. I go, "Is this real?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "You're absolutely crazy."
Right.
So I just played the shit out of it, and I was like, "This is awesome." And then I had to go work because I was working on them.
Right.
And yeah, man. But 59s, dude. Yeah, speechless. Honestly,
So it's the Grail guitar.
it's the Grail guitar, and once you play them, you get it.
Yeah.
You get it. It's crazy. I mean, like I said, I wanted to say no to that question forever, and then I can't. I literally can't. There's everything about it. And obviously now they're 100 years old or whatever, and they sound even better. But
And the prices are.
yeah, but when we heard the records, like Led Zeppelin and all those records that played, Les Pauls, their guitars weren't that old, and they still sounded absolutely incredible.
Yeah. There's something about that era.
Yeah.
Patrick, you're a good dude, man. I've enjoyed spending time with you.
Man.
We could keep going, but unfortunately, as you know, I
know you got a meeting.
I gotta jump on a call. What time is it?
It is 2:05.
We're in great shape.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're all good.
Awesome.
Great spending time with you.
Absolutely.
Great talking to you.
Thank you. It's
We
nice
could talk
being here.
guitars and gear all day.
Dude, this is what I do.
And we will do it again.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it, man. Have a good one.
You
All
too.
right. Bye.
Awesome.